Welcome to this video on Paris. Paris, as the French would say. Paris is a place that needs no introduction and one of those places that most people want to visit at least once. I am one of those people and I visited Paris for the very first time at the beginning of July. And here are some of the most important tips that I can give to you from the time you land in Paris to budgeting, to not getting pickpocketed, and to visit your favorite landmarks in the best way possible with Google Maps itineraries that I have created to help make your planning much easier, and all of that while it's your first time to this incredible place. And adding on to that, the 2024 Olympic Games is set to happen in Paris from the end of July, and you will see that the entire city is gearing up for it, and you can expect even more crowds and price hikes in Paris. So my advice is, if you are not a fan of the Olympics, do not plan your trip during that period. We will get to how expensive Paris is and how crowded the landmarks are in reality later in this video. But first thing first, getting an understanding of the geography of Paris can seem daunting at first glance. But once you get the basic concept of the city, you can pretty much never get lost, even without internet. So I will break it down for you. If you look at the map of Paris, it consists of 20 districts which are called arrondissements. The numbering starts in the center of Paris, the first arrondissement, the heart of Paris. It spirals in a clockwise direction until reaching arrondissement 12 to 20, which forms the border of Paris. And that spiral fashion supposedly forms the shape of the shell of a snail, which is also called escargot in French, and one of the local delicacies that you must try while in Paris. You have to fish it out in very big ways. Wow. And in the center of Paris, you have the River Seine, along which most of the major landmarks are located. The river is your key point of reference for discovering Paris, and we will get more into that later. So now, what about accommodation in Paris? Logically, the further away you get from the center of Paris, the more affordable the accommodations are going to be. So don't be afraid to go in the further away arrondissement from the center of Paris, because maybe you think that you will be too far away from the landmarks. Paris is super walkable, and the metro system is very extensive and well connected. You will always be within 10 minutes walk from the nearest metro station that will take you to wherever you want to be in Paris between 20 to 30 minutes. So for instance, as you know me, I always try to find the best value for money. I found a nice cozy room in a family-owned hotel in Arrondissement 18. Alright, so here's the room. Finally made it to Paris. This is the room that I've got here. It's a single room. I'm 6'1", and this is my size in the room. So not a big room at all. But yet, from first impression, it does look rather neat, and it has everything that is supposed to be in a room for just sleeping while you explore the beautiful city of Paris. So I've got like a sort of a queen size bed over here, a small desk, very small desk over here, and some hangers out here, and fresh towels as well. And here we've got the bathroom. So there's a small wash basin here, there's a toilet here, and there's also a nice little glass shower over there. So I guess it has everything that's required, and I've even got a small AC unit here. But I don't think we will be needing this because the temperature hasn't cranked up yet in Paris. It's just perfect out here now, this time of the year. And I have a nice window over here as well, which opens up on the beautiful and little charming streets of Paris. Look at this view from here, and look at the view from there. So this is really cool actually. Yeah, not too bad. So now the big question is, when it comes to the price, this is one of the most affordable single room that I've seen for people here in Paris, and it is located here in the 18th Arrondissement or the 18th district of Paris, which is called Montmartre. It was really close to the most iconic church in Paris, which is the Basilica du Sacre de Montmartre. So it costed me around 90 euros per day, which is obviously not the cheapest, but it was the most affordable hotels that offered me the feeling of really being in Paris without breaking the bank. So now let's talk about transportation. Once you exit the biggest airport in Paris, Charles de Gaulle Airport, the first thing that you will hear is beware of pickpockets. Yes, that's not a joke. So on that note, always exercise caution when in public and crowded places like the metro and some of the landmarks and attractions. Keep your phone safe and always have your bag in your sight. However, I must say that I have never felt particularly unsafe in any areas in Paris, even when I took the metro very late at night. One of the best ways to get from the airport to your accommodation is to use the train from the airport, which will drop you at any of the major train stations in the city. The ride from the airport to Gare du Nord, where I was going, took about 40 minutes and cost me around 12 euros. So since we are on transportation subject and the metro is going to be your best way of transportation, you might want to get a rechargeable metro card, which is called Navigo Pass, which costs around 6 euros. However, if you're like me and your foot is going to be your best and preferred means of transportation in Paris, and you will most likely do 1 or 2 trips on the metro per day during your short visit to Paris, then most probably you don't need the metro pass. And it will be better to just buy the ticket at the ticketing machine whenever you want to use the metro. Now, a good tip is to buy well in advance a ticket for the hop-on, hop-off boat that goes along the River Seine. It has stops at most of the major landmarks such as the Eiffel Tower, Louvre Museum, Musée d'Orsay, etc. So it's a really nice way to explore Paris, especially if you don't have much time in the city. However, I couldn't book it because I got to know about it too late. But something worth mentioning here is that I found Google Maps to be pretty accurate in Paris, be it on foot or even using the metro station. It always gave the best route and also the best metro station to use to get to your destination. And on that note, I believe the best way to explore Paris is on foot. You get to roam around every little corner of the city and take in the scenic views for how long you want and go at your own pace, and a good way to get some exercise in. On average, I was making 20,000 steps every day. So first day in Paris, and we have walked over 23,000 steps. So this is just the first day and there are more to come. So be ready to walk a lot in Paris and get some comfy shoes. So next is to visit the icons of Paris. I have made a full Google Maps itinerary broken day by day on the places to check out in Paris. It will come up in my next video. Don't forget to check it out if you want to make your planning about visiting Paris a lot easier. So in this video, I'm not going to go too much in details about places to check out, but here are some highlights that you shouldn't miss. First is obviously the Eiffel Tower. And pro tip here is to wake up early and go to a place called the Trocadéro, which is the best viewpoint of the Eiffel Tower in all of Paris. It's a place where you see people on social media posting photos of them with the Eiffel Tower right at their back and having one of the most incredible views of this icon in Paris and the world. Next is to visit the Sainte, Chapelle et Cathédrale Notre, which is in the heart of Paris. It is currently in renovation and should be open by end of 2024. Next is also to check out the Basilica of Sacre Cœur de Montmartre, the most elegant church in Paris. And while you are there, you can also walk to the Wall of Love, a modern monument dedicated to love in Montmartre. And also to relax, be sure to check out Jardin du Luxembourg, which is really beautiful and a cool oasis to chill out in the middle of Paris. Then you can take a walk to Louvre Museum, even though you might not want to go inside it due to the long waiting time. Instead of Louvre Museum, you can visit an equally amazing museum, Musée d'Orsay, which is nearby and filled with contemporary arts. Next, check out Champs-Élysées, which is an open-air luxury boulevard in Paris, and at the end of it you have Arc de Triomphe, where you can snap some really cool photos. And finally, take some time to cool down at the Tuilleries Garden or picnic there to end your day. So the best thing is when you take a break from exploring Paris to actually try the food. It goes without saying that food in Paris is worth a trip on its own. But before we jump into food, it is important to know a few French words that can make your trip even more interesting. Being at the restaurants, bistros, cafes, etc., you will most likely have to interact with French people. And knowing a few French words can really help. Even that most waiters at the restaurants knows how to speak English, they will appreciate you trying to speak in French and maybe even be more friendly. Luckily for me, French is one of my native tongues and it was a bit easier for me. Alors, on va prendre le Saint-Joseph, peut-être carafe de 45 centilitres.
Ok.
Ok.
Bah, tu voulais une carafe d'eau?
Oui, bien sûr. J'essaie de pratiquer le français un petit peu, donc...
Ah bah ça va.
Merci. But here are some of the French words that I think you should know while visiting Paris. First is hello, which is bonjour in French. And then you have please, which is s'il vous plaît. And you have also thank you, which is merci. And next is excusez-moi, which means excuse me. And more words will be enchanté, which is nice to meet you. And I think something important as well, as it is customary to order a starter, a main course, and a dessert in France. Although you don't really have to do it, don't be under pressure to order a 3-course meal while in Paris. But if you want to really indulge in the food, then it's a good way to try out the cuisine. So for starter, it's called entrée in French. For main course, it's plat in French. And for dessert, it's dessert in French. And a bit more advanced, if you're feeling that your French is coming to you while in Paris, then you can ask for the bill in French, which is l'addition, s'il vous plaît. Well, now that you're sort of ready with the most common French words to know while in Paris, if you want to know more words, just leave me a comment down below. So here are my recommendations for French traditional food that you must try to have the best experience of French cuisine. So first, as a starter or entrée, you must try escargot, which is snail in English. It is a delicacy in France, and next is to try foie gras as well, even though it might not be for everyone taste-wise. Next is pâté or terrine, which is a spread made with liver and or meat, traditionally French. So as main course, canard confit is a staple, steak frites, which is steak with French fries, and bœuf bourguignon, which is beef stew cooked with red wine. You cannot get any more traditional than this. As dessert, make sure to try the crème brûlée, a staple, and Paris-Brest, crêpe, fruit tart, and for breakfast, of course, the famous croissant. So it's all good to talk about food and how you can indulge in them, but a 3-course meal in Paris at a bistro or restaurant for 2 will cost you around 100 euros. But in my opinion, it is all worth it as long as it is food in Paris. Before I end this video, I would like to talk about connectivity, especially having internet in Paris. Most cafes and bistros have a Wi-Fi connection in Paris, but if you would like to have more control and have data at all times with you in Paris, then I would recommend you to buy an eSIM from an app called Holafly. I used it in Paris and I bought an eSIM which was really easy to install and use right away. I bought unlimited data for a week, which costed me 20 euros, which was much cheaper than using roaming data from my existing phone carrier. And also this will prevent you from going to a cafe or bistro to buy an overpriced drink just to be able to connect to their Wi-Fi. So we have reached the end of this video and I have tried to give you some of the most important tips for your first time to Paris, and I hope these are going to be useful for your upcoming trip to this amazing place. In the next video, I'm going to give you a full 3-day itinerary in Paris with Google Maps location to help you plan your trip a lot easier. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.